Tang Soo Do, From Rising Sun to Morning Calm. This is my interpretation and my belief of what the true history and lineage of Tang Soo Do is. Many people may not agree with this. They may believe that, the history begins and ends with Korea and Grandmaster Hwang Kee, but I believe it goes way deeper than that. And this is my interpretation and how I approach the art of Tang Soo Do. Tang Soo Do, the common history that's taught is that Hwang Kee was the founder of Tang Soo Do, and that it goes back thousands of years, back to the Three Kingdoms era of Korea. I don't believe that's totally true. If you look at Hwang Kee's lineage, he learned Taekyun and Soo Bahk when he was a child, and he did not have an official instructor. He learned when he observed a fight between a Taekyun master and some ruffians, and he was very impressed, asked the guy to teach him, and the guy refused. Hwang Kee then continued to watch this man during his training and copying and mimicking his movements that he watched, that he was attributed to be a martial arts prodigy and a master of these arts at a young age. Once he graduated high school, Hwang Kee joined the railroad, went to work for the railroad, and went to China and was training under a master, Yang Kuk Jin, from 1935 to 1937. He also supposedly had gone back a couple of times since that time to train with him. Yang Kuk Jin is not perfectly identified. It's believed he's part of the Yang family from Yang Tai Chi, and that is the style that Hwang Kee was training in. Other people say that he was just learning the Tang method of martial arts, which is very vague. But Yang Kuk Jin is not an identifiable member of the Yang family, so it's not clear who that actually was. During this time, Hwang Kee also studied books from the library in the railroad, reading on Okinawan karate and studying a book by Gichin Funakoshi, founder of Shotokan karate, which is how he explains the forms that are found in the hyungs that are found in Tang Soo Do being so similar to Shotokan, that he adopted them from those books that he studied. From that point, he founded his Moo Duk Kwan system in 1945, the School of Martial Virtue, and at that point in 1946, the original user of the term Tang Soo Do, Kuk Lee, abandoned that when he changed his school name to Chung Do Kwan and went the Taekwondo route. Hwang Kee then took the name of Tang Soo Do, Moo Duk Kwan, and proceeded to evolve his style over the years until his death, and in 1960 he renamed the style Tang Soo Do to Soo Bahk Do Moo Duk Kwan and had it trademarked. So once he evolved it into Soo Bahk Do, it continued to evolve into a totally separate style, and Tang Soo Do does not resemble the Soo Bahk Do that you see today. It is a different style, and even his son, who is now in charge of Soo Bahk Do, will say and has said that Soo Bahk Do is not Tang Soo Do. It evolved way beyond what Hwang Kee was originally teaching in his early years. When you look at the documented history of Tang Soo Do, you can look down here where it starts with Hwang Kee. And if you adhere to Hwang Kee being the founder of Tang Soo Do and only going through Korea to the ancient forms, you only go to his instructor, Yang Kuk Jin. And that's it. It stops there because he had no other instructor. You don't know where he got these forms and what he learned from other than this. And even Yang Kuk Jin isn't totally verifiable. We don't know exactly who this guy is or what he taught. It's assumed that it was Tai Chi or a Tang form of karate or martial arts from China, but there's no verifying who exactly he is. But if you look at the characters above this lineage diagram, on the left, the Tang Soo Do characters, Tang Soo Do means China hand. And the characters on the left were the characters used to write karate back in the early times of Gichin Funakoshi's Shotokan karate. It meant China hand or Tang hand. Gichin Funakoshi later changed it to the characters on the right, which is what we all know today as empty hand for karate. But at the time, that Kuk Lee was learning from Gichin Funakoshi, it was still written as China Hand. Kuk Lee was the highest ranking non-Japanese in Shotokan karate at that time. He was a 4th dan, and when 1944, when he came back to Korea, he wanted to teach the art of Shotokan that he learned in Japan. So he used the same term for karate, China Hand, and the Korean translation of that is Tang Soo Do. So Tang Soo Do, when it began in Korea, was Shotokan karate. Kuk Lee then began evolving that technique using the art of Taekyun and the other Korean martial arts that he had learned throughout his younger years, and started evolving it until he changed the name of his school from Tang Soo Do to Untitled Chapter. And using the Untitled Chapter school, he then went the route of Taekwondo when Korea brought everybody under the Taekwondo banner. Once he started using Untitled Chapter, he no longer used the term Tang Soo Do, and Hwang Kee picked up that term, using it instead of his original Hwa Soo Do, which was not popular with the public. So it became Tang Soo Do Moo Duk Kwan, and from there Hwang Kee added his influence and evolved the art even further, using his knowledge in whatever arts he practiced in China and in Korea, and evolved the art even further all the way up until 1960, when he changed the name of the art that he was practicing to Soo Bahk Do. But when you look at this lineage, if you acknowledge the fact that Hwang Kee may have learned from Kuk Lee, he denies it, but Kuk Lee was adamant that he did teach Hwang Kee for a short period. If that is the case, or even if it isn't, being just based on the fact that Kuk Lee used the term Tang Soo Do first in Korea, and there's that Shotokan connection. It goes back through Gichin Funakoshi to Anko Itosu, to Anko Azato, Gichin Funakoshi's teachers. Anko Itosu came up with, invented, and created the Pyong forms 1 through 5. So you get to learn, going this route, the true meaning and the true source of what you're training in. Other than that, you're just, if you go Hwang Kee's route, he learned them from a book. That's it. So it's like here, you can trace the art of Tang Soo Do back through its, not just its Korean roots through Hwang Kee and back through Untitled Chapter's founder, Kuk Lee, but all the way back to Gichin Funakoshi, Anko Itosu, Okinawan masters, all the way back to Fujian province. And that is just amazing. That alone can take a lifetime, and it really enriches, deepens the meaning in everything we do in Tang Soo Do by recognizing these roots of Tang Soo Do, not just blindly adhering to that fact, the conscribed lineage of being Hwang Kee and the ancient arts of Korea. No, it goes much, much deeper than that. And by studying this lineage, you increase the depth and knowledge of your art of Tang Soo Do. My instructor was Master Bong, who was the head of Hwang Kee's Korean Tang Soo Do Association in the province of Chungnam, South Korea, which is where I was stationed at Camp Ames, Korea. That's no longer there. You can see him standing here next to Hwang Kee in the center picture. Down below, that's our black belt testing, where I am standing next to Master Yun to his right. And on the right, this is Master Yun awarding me my black belt certificate after reaching my first dan. My approach to Tang Soo Do, I was taught an early form of Tang Soo Do closely resembling Shotokan karate. It does not resemble the Soo Bahk Do that Hwang Kee's art evolved into. It's totally different. And Tang Soo Do itself is very fractured and varies vastly due to the political infighting and disputes that went on over the years. There are 59 Tang Soo Do organizations listed on the website tangsoodoworld.com, which is a reference and quality source of information on the art of Tang Soo Do. And unlike the two major Taekwondo organizations, the ITF and WTF, Tang Soo Do does not have any major governing bodies. Tang Soo Do varies from school to school based on whether the main instructor remained with the Moo Duk Kwan or not. Many left the Moo Duk Kwan not agreeing with the direction Hwang Kee was going with his art. At the time, Korea wanted everybody to fall under the Taekwondo banner. Hwang Kee refused. Some of his senior students went the Taekwondo route, and there is a Taekwondo Moo Duk Kwan as well as a Tang Soo Do Moo Duk Kwan. And others didn't agree with the way he was evolving the art into Soo Bahk Do and preferred to stay with the original Tang Soo Do system. Many of these instructors still teach an earlier form of Tang Soo Do, which is closely in line with the early versions of Kuk Lee's Chung Do Kwan and Japanese Shotokan karate. I'm not associated with the Moo Duk Kwan. I haven't been for a long time, and I train in the earlier version of Tang Soo Do taught to be my master Yun. My personal style has evolved as well through other arts that I've studied, and I do hold a black belt in Chung Do Kwan Taekwondo, as well as having studied Shotokan karate for years. So that got me on this trail of really researching where the art of Tang Soo Do came from and its roots. I do choose to trace the roots of Tang Soo Do through Kuk Lee back to Japan, Okinawa, and Fujian province in China, because I believe that is the true evolution of Tang Soo Do, that it came to Korea as Shotokan karate. And while it was in Korea, Kuk Lee evolved it, adding his experience and mastery of Taekyun, which he learned through his childhood. And also, once he went the Chung Do Kwan route, Hwang Lee picked up Tang Soo Do as the name and evolved it even further with his Moo Duk Kwan, which pretty much the combined efforts of both of them is what we know Tang Soo Do to be today. From there, once 1960, when he changed his name to Soo Bahk Do, Tang Soo Do continued to develop with the American soldiers that were stationed overseas, people such as Chuck Norris and others that brought it back to the United States. And from Korea through the rest of the world, Tang Soo Do has evolved in all kinds of countries all over the world with many practitioners, and which is the way it's supposed to be. Every single art should evolve in this way. It shouldn't be held to one way, the way that the supposed founder made it, because then it's stagnant. It never adapts. It never grows as an art. Tang Soo Do has grown as an art, even though it doesn't have a governing body overseeing it. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing, but sometimes governing bodies do end up hindering development. So that is my approach to Tang Soo Do. It is a Korean art. It's the art I study, but I do trace the lineage back through Japan and Okinawan karate. And I encourage you to find your path and follow it. The art of Tang Soo Do does not begin and end with Hwang Kee. I encourage all students, which includes instructors of Tang Soo Do, to seek out and study the roots of the art as far back as you can go, or as far back as you want to go. Tang Soo Do spread from Korea to the world, but is a very rich history and lineage that traces back through Japan, Okinawa, and China with some of the great martial arts masters. Learn the true intention of the techniques in the Hyung that you're studying as well from these Okinawan masters that it came up and invented these forms, and see why they were invented and the specific reason for forms in general. They are not prearranged fights against multiple attackers from all directions, what is like I was taught in originally, and like what is still being taught in schools all over the world. Learn all you can from your instructor, but continue to learn and seek knowledge on your own as well. If you're not learning, you're dying. The art is dying. Your training in the art of Tang Soo Do will benefit greatly, because if we don't keep learning and evolving, we're just going to stay stagnant, and things that stay stagnant eventually die out and they will disappear, and we don't want that. To learn more, you can visit my website at kevinwpatella.com. You can get my blog posts there, as well as any videos that come up, the latest information on Tang Soo Do. And if you you wish to begin your journey in Tang Soo Do in the convenience and comfort of your own home, you can check out my white belt home study course at thewarriorinYou.com. The Warrior in You is a website dedicated toward bringing the art of Tang Soo Do to everyone around the world, no matter where you live, how remotely you live, no matter what your situation or schedule is. You can learn the basic techniques and the forms of Tang Soo Do in the comfort of your own home. And there's more courses that'll be coming out covering all of the techniques and forms from white belt to black belt. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Leave any comments that you have on this topic below. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. And for all of you who are Tang Soo Do students, I encourage you to keep on learning. Those of you who are thinking about starting, Tang Soo Do is an awesome art. It improves way more than just your self-defense skills, but it truly is a lifestyle and becomes a great part of your life and enhances your life greatly. So take care, continue training, train hard, and God bless.